There was a woman who was killed over her displays, her regular displays of showing pride flags in her store in California. This is a sad story. We're going to talk about that right now.
Horror this evening after a 66-year-old California businesswoman was murdered following an argument about the rainbow pride flag she displayed outside her store. Lauri Carleton, everyone called her Lauri.
There were altercations numerous times over her constantly putting up the LGBT rainbow flags. And, you know, despite it being taken down, she was like, no, I'm going to put it back up again. For the record, if you look at his profile, and a lot of people basically scoured the shooter's profile beforehand, I assume you won't be shocked to find out that this is yet another Trump supporter who became more and more radicalized and thought Trump wasn't hard enough on the LGBT, who, of course, was radicalized by the obvious Fox News and adjacent far-right communities all over the internet. You know, this is something that we have talked about many times over. It's sad. It's unfortunate. It's devastating. Don't know if we'll ever be able to put a damper on this sort of thing. It seems like we just have to sit back and wait for the right-wing commentators from personally choosing to stop doing this kind of advocacy, because there's no other way to stop this kind of advocacy. Fox News needs to be held accountable and charged with the... Dude, are you kidding me? I mean, guys, I'm old enough to remember that Bill O. Riley was responsible for the direct execution of Dr. Tiller, who he called Tiller the baby killer. So this is not the first time that this has happened, and it won't be George Tiller. This is not the first time this has happened, and it won't be the last time this has happened. This will continue happening. This will continue to happen over and over and over again. I love the right-wing spin on it, making him out to be a leftist because he spoke out against the police, more likely because they're the ones that had to deal with him in the past fucked up situations. Obviously not blaming this on mental illness, but being indoctrinated by this shit is a mental illness in and of itself. Yeah, but of course, once again, where a right-wing stochastic terrorist acts out the desires of the right, and here he is, by the way, reposting fucking Matt Walsh. What Target is doing is far worse than anything Bud Light did. They're selling chest binders and tuck-friendly bathing suits for children. Or Jordan Peterson, simple normality has now become an offense punishable by the woke mob of narcissists and psychopaths. Or Benny Johnson, this is child abuse and the parents and criminal groomer should be arrested. Can anyone defend this? Photo taken in D.C. today. Here he is, Travis Kikuchi, the shooter. Literally quote tweeting this, LGB cut off from the TQIA. This tactic is not going to solve anything. Where you are cutting off the legs of the octopus can grow back another one. Kill the octopus, not just his legs. Saying what I've said time and time again about these fucking zealots, that they don't give a shit about the gay people either. That this is far closer to the American far right Christians and their attitude towards homosexuality than the British version of this, where it has worked, where British people are like, yeah, we're fine with gay people, but just not with trans people. This does not necessarily work with the American psychos who care way too much. The man who murdered San Bernardino store owner and mother of 9, Lauri Carleton, over the weekend was being fed a steady diet of anti-LGBTQ hate by right-wing media personalities like Matt Walsh, Jordan Peterson, and Benny Johnson. Nobody's born with hate like this, says Ari Drennan from Media Matters. This is, you know, the final stage. And once again, whenever a right-wing loser acts out the desires of Matt Walsh, the right immediately come to terms and go, how do we turn around and say he's actually gay and a Fed, or this is a psyop, or he was actually a leftist? There is absolutely nothing to do with being a leftist. Here is his Gab profile and his Twitter profile. Follow God's law, repent from iniquities, and give your baggage and accept Jesus Christ. Do not compromise with Satan's laws, democracy, nor its agents, police officers. An anti-Freemasonry, anti-Zionism, anti-Jesuit, anti-paganism, same-sex marriage should be abolished. And the Federal Reserve System. Anti-1488 guy and seek no revenge but to defend yourself and love against criminals and government agents. So he's like far right, but he's like, I don't f- with the Nazis. Classic. Yeah, he's not a Nazi, he's a Christo-fascist. America must repent for a lot of things we allow: abortion, baby killing, sexual immortality. What the fuck does that mean? People be gaining immortality through sex? Pornography. I think he meant immorality, but same-sex marriages, LGBTQP / pedophilia, Freemasonry, religiosity, politics, wars, colonialism, the Federal Reserve. We allow the Federal Reserve to make profit off of these abominations. We allow the judicial supremacist groups to make decisions for us, and we don't notice it. There's no political solution. We must repent and accept Christ in our hearts. Share this with others too, please. And here was his pinned tweet, which was a pride flag burning with the caption, "What to do with the LGBTQP flag?" Yeah. He was also getting fed a healthy diet of psychotic bullshit that was also openly, or maybe in some instances, secretly anti-Semitic from the likes of Illuminati bot on Twitter. You know, accounts that get thousands of dollars from Elon Musk's pockets directly. And he would get even more violent on Gab. What the fuck? Why is Mel Gibson in there? This is stop listening to celebrities, accept him. They're literal Satanists. It's because Mel Gibson is famous for his anti-Semitic rants and his racist rants. That's why. There's no better. I mean, this is the most obvious thing. What do you mean? They're saying all these celebrities are satanic perverts or whatever, except for Mel Gibson because he made Passion of the Christ and also is like very anti-Semitic. Yeah, and also every time you're confused, why is there a P on the LGBTQ? He means pedophiles. He's looping pedophilia in with the queer community, claiming it's a classic, claiming that the queer community are grooming and doing pedophilia. America is a powder keg. Okay? It is a powder keg ready to fucking erupt. If you make anti-gay shit your wedge issue, your primary issue, some people are going to turn around and make that their whole lives mission. Okay? And they have guns. And they have ease of access to guns. So ultimately, someone is going to grab the gun and take matters into their own fucking hands. And that's precisely what happened here. It's super sad. I don't know. I've said this before with respect to right-wing politics in general, where like this has been a constant in American politics for a very long time, where you just kind of have to live with it. There's not really anything you can do about it. You know what I mean? It's like like the right will always take matters in their own hands. They will always behave in this incredibly inhumane, incredibly cruel, and incredibly violent way. And I feel like I'm crazy when I look at the situation and there's like not really anything you can do. You can't take their guns. You can't stop them. You can't de-radicalize them. And the media absolutely keeps pushing pushing the boundaries further. They just like get more and more violent. Matt Walsh is a great example of this, where he will just like openly defend these kinds of actions, or will turn around and victim blame and say, well, what were you expecting? You put a fucking pride flag on there, you know? And that's basically what he said after the Q nightclub shooting. Tim Pool basically said that after the Q nightclub shooting. What are we expecting? They literally said these guys are responsible for their own demise because, you know, they're grooming children. And you said because people agree with them. Okay. There's plenty more who don't. We know for an objective fact that the majority of Americans think that the Republican Party's handling on trans issues goes way too far. That's 54%. The overwhelming majority of Americans believe that, like, queer rights should be protected, especially gay marriage and the like. It doesn't matter. It's the loud minority, but let's say it was the loud majority, right? Let's say these guys were the majority. Does that make it right? If the majority of Americans think that you should be able to kill gay people on sight, you just execute them on sight, does that turn it all of a sudden into the correct thing? The majority believing that schools should be segregated, does that make it right? The majority believing for a long time that slavery is perfectly valid, especially when you don't consider black people to be a part of the majority. Does that make it okay? No, right? And one thing you have to remember is that the majority's opinion, especially if it's about civil liberties to marginalized groups, like, for example, giving bodily autonomy to women to make medical decisions over their own bodies, well, that gets cast aside fairly easily, doesn't it? Where the Supreme Court makes decisions on behalf of the American population, decisions that actually end up hurting the the Republican Party's polling numbers. So at what point do we recognize these random acts of violence are a direct cause of the rhetoric being spouted by the groomers of the right-wing media machine? And once that's recognized, how much is it deemed necessary to fight back? I mean, it is 100% their fault. Absolutely, without a doubt. And I don't think it matters. Like I said, and not to be too defeatist here, but this has happened time and time again, and it literally doesn't stop. You know what I mean? They get no punishments for it, and life goes on. Or if anything, they get more prominence. And it's getting worse. And I don't know what to do. I don't know. Yeah, we covered it. The guy had retweeted Matt Walsh, Jordan Peterson. He only followed 19 people on X, One American News, former President Donald Trump, conspiracy theorist David Knight, who once worked with Alex Jones. The shooter also followed and boosted right-wing professors and conspiracy theory promoter Jordan Peterson, anti-vax activist Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the right-wing satirical website Babylon Bee. He kept retweeting Matt Walsh. We're talking about, like, people sending bomb threats at the behest of libs of fucking TikTok and Matt Walsh to, like, children's hospitals. You know what I mean? I want to hear from the people on the right, like, what they're saying about this issue. From what I've been able to find on the right, they're not. Misinfo on Twitter spread that the shooter was a brother-in-law or something that was a purely, yeah, I heard that it was like a domestic dispute was the angle that they were going for. If people who are on my side of these issues were responsibility for bomb threats and actual threats, then I would question if I was on the right side of things. But these people are so lost, they would never reconsider their position. Absolutely not. My buddy works security at Boston Children's Hospital. He's a hog. He was working when they were calling in threats, and I asked them, what do you think about that? He said, they should stop messing with kids. These people are so beyond brain broken by right-wing media, there's no hope for them. That's not surprising. It's like the fucking one Sandy Hook survivor dad who, like, believes the Sandy Hook was a hoax conspiracies. Or was it not Sandy Hook? Sorry. Stoneman Douglas, Parkland. There was a dad whose kid survived the Parkland shooting, and then he fucking believed the right-wing conspiracy theories about how Parkland was a hoax. It's just like, it's mind-melting, dude. It is absolutely mind-numbing. There's not really too much you can do about it. I don't know. What the fuck are we supposed to do? Oh, she's pressing buttons. Calm down. No! Anyway, guys, love you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.